without being hampered by unnecessary regulation. It was well known that Michael Taylor played a key role in the deregulation of GM crops. And after he left the FDA, he returned to King and Spalding and later headed the Washington, D.C. office of Monsanto Company. So, the facts are out there. The facts don't lie. And we've got a very, very serious problem with the revolving door on these regarding these biotech companies and appointed positions over at the USDA and FDA. I mean, anyone with common sense would be able to figure out that if you have been working with a biotech company like Monsanto, and then you're appointed to a political position that has significant power and rulings about our food industry, do you think that person is not going to rule in favor of a biotech company, especially when they're going to go back to work for these large corporations? And that's exactly what's happening. And the list goes on. I mean, I could bore the listeners with detail after detail of all kinds of people who have worked for biotech companies, and then they were appointed positions at the USDA or FDA or EPA for that matter, and it makes you shake your head.
Yeah, I've heard it. I don't know who said it, but I've heard it referred to as the fox guarding the hen house, and I think that's a very simple and apt way of looking at it.
Yes.
So if this goes forward, we have contamination of alfalfa, and that is used to feed dairy cows. And what else? What else is involved?
Well, it's a main staple of a protein source for dairy cattle, and so anyone, people that aren't looking at the big picture believe that, well, this is only going to maybe affect people who eat beef and dairy, ice cream, cheese, products that are food products that are made from the dairy cattle, but that isn't true at all because of the huge issue with the contamination. It's basically going to affect everyone. So it doesn't matter if you eat beef or eat cheese or ice cream or any of those products. Everyone's going to be affected. And one of the major issues with the problem with glyphosate and Roundup and some of these herbicides is that one of the really negative effects that it has on our health and well-being is that these products actually have a process where they chelate with nutrients and specifically minerals. And there's a famous scientist who basically who actually was designated with the title of being one of the top 20 scientists of all time, and that's Linus Pauling. And he passed away back in 1994, but he did tremendous work in the area of molecular biochemistry and just a brilliant man. But he had basically made the distinction that people that are deficient in minerals will become diseased. And one of the problems with the contamination with the glyphosate is that this chelation process that takes place with the chemical and the minerals that are in the soil. I know back in 1999 there was a study done. I think it was 1999, but there was a study done about the mineral content of our soil as opposed to back in 1940, I believe. And the results were astounding. I think this was a UK study, and they found that it was up. It reached figures of about 76% of mineral loss in the soil that they tested. And so that was about a 50-plus year span, but I haven't been able to find any recent mineral studies, and I'm sure that I will run across it. But if you can imagine that this study found that upwards of 76% mineral loss in the soil just in the time period from 1940 to 1999, that's extremely compelling. But also, what would be interesting to find out is that time period from 99 until present, because of the great influx of GE crops in our country.
Yeah, that's really alarming.
I'd never heard of the chelation of minerals and vitamins by glyphosate before. That's another hit against it. There's
it is given the fact that some of these minerals, like I can just give you a few examples: iron, boron, zinc, copper, magnesium. I think there was a study not too long ago that found that Alzheimer's disease had increased something like 9,000% in a time period from, I believe, 1990 to present. And Alzheimer's has been linked to a deficiency in copper and magnesium. So, there's all kinds of studies that are all very disturbing. Another mineral that is really, really deficient in the soil in America these days is zinc. And the problem with that is zinc is very, very important in enzyme action and production, which has a large effect on metabolic processes in the body. Basically, all metabolic processes, you need enzymes. And when we're depleted of that, it plays a significant role in the health of our immune system.
Wow.
I mean, we're getting to the point in this country that we continually put out dead food. And with dead food, we get absolutely no nutritional benefit and no benefit for boosting and creating an optimal immune system. So we're really at some major crossroads here with the health and this whole issue of GE seeds and crops.
Wow, it's no kidding, Rick, that so many people are getting sick these days. We're going to take this break. You're listening to Food Integrity Now. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food Integrity Now. Rick Thomas is our guest today, talking about GMO alfalfa. Before the break, you touched on dead food, Rick, and that's it's quite a fascinating topic for me, that people see food and they think it looks good, but they don't realize about nutrient density. We have one of our friends, our farmer, Farmer Yule. He comes on the show and talks about nutrient density. He runs Pachamama Organic Farm and makes some of the best tasting veggies I've ever tasted. And he really concentrates on nutrient density, and it's amazing how much of a difference it makes in whatever you bite into.
Oh, absolutely.
So, let's just change the topic a little bit and just talk about GMO crops in general, not just GMO alfalfa. You consult a lot of people and you give lectures on nutrition and nutritional healing. One of the things I find myself running into is you'll talk to people in a restaurant, you talk to your waitress about GMOs, and like they don't really know why they should care. What are some of the key highlights of negative aspects of GMOs on a person's health and why they should care?